Cheap fragrance haul. That's right. I'm going to talk to you today about 8 fragrances that I bought that you guys recommended to me to buy in comments. One I've spoken about a little bit here and there on a few videos that I bought quite a while ago, but the remainder of them are brand new to me, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinions on all 8 of these fragrances. So if you want to find out what these fragrances are, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about 8 cheap or inexpensive fragrances that I bought blind, all recommended by you guys. So I'm going to tell you what I think about them and tell you the notes and the price I paid for them. But before we do that, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. That's right, cheap. Is that a right word to use? A lot of you, or some of you, do not like that word. I like that word. It's perfect for SEO, search engine optimization, and I use it all the time. But yes, inexpensive, cheap, budget, whatever you want to call them. Low priced. I guess these are all that. And I bought them from your recommendations. And if you are watching this video, and you'll notice your own recommendations. So there's 8 of them. One of them I've spoken a lot about here and there, but we're going to jump right into the first recommendation, not one that I've spoken about before. And this is a house I haven't really done much with since 2001. There's a fragrance that I bought in 2001 called Hermès Eau d'Orange Vert in New Orleans at Saks. At that same trip, in 2001, I bought a fragrance from a house called Jil Sander, and it was this lopsided bottle, and I'm drawing a blank with the name. But this is a fragrance that was recommended to me by somebody, a subscriber, either via email or a comment, and the recommendation was to buy Jil Sander Sun Men. So it's in this box right here. So Jil Sander Sun Men was so cheap, like really cheap. On FragranceNet, I think it's FragranceNet, and I have a link to FragranceNet in the info box. This 200 ml bottle was selling for $36. Now, mind you, I had sampled this in Germany because I feel like Jil Sander is a German, I think it is a German brand, and I see their fragrances everywhere when I'm traveling. But 36 bucks for a 200 ml, per ml price is really, really low. What's this one all about? And if you know this fragrance, do let me know if you're a fan of it. So Jil Sander Sun Men is all about cardamom, bergamot, musk, nutmeg, sandalwood, and rosemary. 36 bucks for 200 ml, that is a freaking phenomenal price. You can't go wrong with that price. So this is the bottle right here. I like the frosted bottle, and I've always loved the Jil Sander design and logo and all that good stuff. It's just unique to me, and I like the presentation. Now, I haven't worn Jil Sander for a long time, as I said. I don't know why, but we just don't have a lot of places that sell Jil Sander here in the States or in San Francisco, so I can't go sample them. That's why I don't really do a lot of blind buys, but I did a blind buy here. So the cap is plastic, very cheap. The bottle is nice and glass and frosted. It's a big bottle, 200 ml, 36 bucks, as I said. So when I think of Sun Men, I'm thinking of citruses, but I don't see any citruses listed here. And in the end, it's a very pleasant, spicy, creamy fragrance. Sandalwood is present here, and I feel like everything on top of the sandalwood is nicely wrapped with that creaminess of the sandalwood. It's very aromatic and it's very spicy. And then, I mean, of course it has bergamot, but I feel like bergamot is always present in all fragrances. In the end, it's very pleasant, it's very spicy, the cardamom is pretty prominent, and it's musky. So I feel like even though this doesn't have a lot of citruses, it's not your typical summer freshie, I feel like you can really get away with this one. The only thing that's bothering me about the scent is I feel like I've smelled it before in other fragrances. So that's a negative. But for 36 bucks for a 200 ml bottle, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's my opinions on Jil Sander Sun Men. I could put this to use. I could wear it. I mean, it might come in handy here and there. And 36 bucks, as I said, is pretty inexpensive. So this next one is from the house of Oscar de la Renta. I haven't mentioned Oscar de la Renta on this channel ever. Even I never spoke about Oscar de la Renta on the previous channel. But this one was recommended to me. This is Oscar de la Renta Gentleman. Comes in this box, $36 for 100 ml. Now this one I have heard that it does have hints of some fragrances out there, but let's see what it reminds me of. The bottle's really unique, like a Domino's. I guess it's pretty interesting. Have you guys tried this fragrance? Are you a fan of it? I like the bottle actually. It's a fun gimmicky bottle. So this one has notes of champagne, cardamom keeps coming up, grapefruit, oolong tea, vetiver, rosemary, labdanum. So in the end, it reminds me of Narciso Rodriguez in the blue bottle a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of Cartier Declaration and a little bit of Terre de Hermes. Not a bad fragrance. 36 bucks for 100 ml is a good price. But you're getting 100 ml less juice here than this. But which do I prefer over the other? I feel like the Oscar de la Renta is a little more unique to me. There's something about the Jill Sander Sunman that reminds me too much of a very, very common men's fragrance in the stores. Even though the Jill Sander, I believe, came out in the early 2000s, I think the reformulations have left it to smell like something. I don't know, I'd have to wear it. I haven't worn these. But I'm preferring the Oscar de la Renta over the Jill Sander. But I didn't say that the Jill Sander is bad. But both of them are very inexpensive, and I guess I recommend them. Okay, this next one was one that was recommended. I put out a Neroli video, and this is from the house of Al Haramain Neroli Canvas. The only thing I could say is, man, I am so tired of big presentation and big coffret boxes, and coming from a cheap house or a budget house, I don't really need this much presentation. This is a lot of packaging. 56 bucks for a 75 ml. It's supposed to be like your beefy, more intense beast mode version of Neroli Portofino. And when people are saying Neroli Portofino clone, I feel like Neroli Portofino on its own is not an original fragrance. It's already been done. That's why I did that video comparing 4711 to Neroli Portofino. And that's where a lot of you were telling me that this is a great alternative for it. And I've tried the Ferrari Neroli, whatever bright Neroli it's called. I felt like the whole Ferrari collection was definitely very cheap smelling. Now, I like the word cheap because it explains the price, but it also explains how fragrances smell. Now, as far as the two fragrances I've smelled so far, the Jill Sander, the Jill Sander and the Oscar de la Renta, I don't feel like they smell cheap. So in the end, there is something good about them, and it is good quality. So in the end, they've just been discounted really, really low. Let's try the Al Haramain. Now this one seems like it's really expensive for the price. I mean, for the size is what I meant to say. And the packaging is way too much. I don't need this much packaging. For a cheap fragrance also, I don't need this, because the presentation itself looks pretty cheap. So it's kind of, I don't know, I don't need this. I like the pouch. The pouch I'll put to use, put it like some stuff in there while I'm traveling. So I feel like the pouch is really nice. That could come in handy. And this is the bottle. It says that they've been around since 1970. Since 1970, that's the year I was born. I'm celebrating 50 years this year. The year that was not the best year, or is not the best year. Anyway, let's try this Neroli Canvas. Sprays really nicely. And smells wonderful. This doesn't smell like bright Neroli. I mean, I don't like the Ferrari fragrances. This smells great. Wow. I like this. I love that smell of Neroli, the soapy, clean, fresh orange blossom Neroli fragrance. This one will be put to use. The only negative is it is a little on the pricey side, and I feel like the priciness is because of this big presentation. I don't need all that. Do you guys need it? I mean, it's very cheap presentation too. Plastic or rubber. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But as far as the smell goes, I like it. I wish they would give me a bottle for 35 bucks with this quality without this presentation. Then I'd be really happy. But I'm happy with the smell here. It's definitely worth it. So far the recommendations have been good. I am going to have to rank them after we're done here. Okay, so this next one is a fragrance called Silver Wood from a house called KORLOFF. Are you familiar with this house? Now this one's a very odd size. I was going to say strange size, but it's an odd size. 88 milliliters for 25 bucks. I'm sorry, 88 milliliters for 28 bucks. So in the end, it's still very inexpensive, but this is the KORLOFF Silver Wood. I just don't like weird sizes. I don't know what they're doing with these weird sizes. Anyway, let's spray this one. So this one has notes of cardamom. Wow, that cardamom keeps coming up. Cardamom, palisander, rosewood, nutmeg, cinnamon, fig, lavender, labdanum. I'm not disappointed. It's interesting. It's a unique smell. I was expecting more cardamom, but I feel like there's a lot more going on in here that are giving the smell not necessarily overly cardamom-like. But even though that cardamom's there, that palisander rosewood is a very, very unique smell. Comme des Garçons has a fragrance called palisander, which I really like. And it's a very different, unique, woody smell. So I feel like that's in here, along with lots of spices like nutmeg and cinnamon. And throw in the fig. I'm smelling a little bit of a fruity touch under there, so I'm assuming it's a fig fruit, not the leaves. And lavender and labdanum, so it's very ambery. It's an ambery, woody experience that's also very, very spicy. Anyway, that's KORLOFF Silver Wood. I'm not disappointed in this one, but as I said, I'll rank the fragrances once we're done with all 8 of the fragrances. And I'll tell you my #1 favorite. This next one is the one that I've spoken about already. I did a whole video on this fragrance, plus a lot of the fragrances I bought in the same collection, and it's Zara's Feels Like Summer. So this one was recommended to me early on this year, and I bought it late March, and I did my video on those Zara fragrances. This is very inexpensive. They were currently on sale for $10, $9.99 for a 30 ml, but their suggested retail is $12.99. So mostly about oranges, apricots, and sandalwood here. And you know, I love this smell. It smells wonderful. It's juicy, citrusy, and creamy at the same time, because the sandalwood note is very, very prominent, and it actually makes everything very creamy. So in the end, it's almost like a orange creamsicle slash apricot creamsicle. Does that make sense? So that sandalwood comes off very, very milky and creamy, and it's not overly complex. It's simplistic, but very, very wonderful to wear. It might lean a bit feminine, but it's just a fruits, guys. It's orange, apricots, and sandalwood. Nothing else. Feels Like Summer. I feel like is a winner. It's definitely smelling wonderful, and if you like woody fragrances, citrusy and fruity, definitely check that out. And again, that's the price right there, $12.99. But as I said, they were having a sale recently. Oh, it's nice. It's nice. Okay, so this next one was recommended to me as a comparison for 4711, and this is ACQUA Colonia Intense, and this is called Wakening Woods of Scandinavia. So this one was recommended by someone because I love 4711. When I go to Germany, I buy a bunch of their very inexpensive eau de colognes, and that's the fragrance I had featured in the video with Neroli Portofino, and the HARAMAIN Neroli Canvas was recommended, and this one was also recommended. So I took a chance and bought it. I found it because I've always wanted to buy a few fragrances from this collection. As you can see, like this. This is basically, they're doing like variations or unique twists on, I guess this isn't open, unique twists on the original 4711. And this one has notes of coriander, fir balsam, pink pepper, Olibanum, rose, jasmine, patchouli, osmanthus. 45 ml for $107 and $45 for 170 ml. And you know what? I've tested this one out and I'm enjoying the smell. It's very, very green and woodsy. It doesn't at all remind me of Neroli. There's no Neroli in here at all. But it's a very, very uniquely green take on a fresh fragrance. Again, it's not overly intense, but it's also not a wimp, and I like the way it smells. There's a little bit of that smoky Olibanum running through there, the incense, frankincense. But I quite like it. It smells like the forest. But you know, there's some brightness there. It's not dark forest. It does smell dark, but there's a lot of bright touches around it, like the osmanthus and the rose. Just add some brightness to it. In the end, it's very pleasant. So this is 4711 ACQUA Colonia Intense, and it's called Wakening Woods of Scandinavia. So that's that. And then the next two are fragrances that were recommended by two different people from the same house. And I never had sampled fragrances from this house, so I took a chance. So the first one is FRANCK Olivier Eau de Vanille. $25 for 100 ml I found online. And there's one more from this house, as I said. This one actually, I sampled it, and it was really intense, like a really intense experience. So even though it's $25, I think it's a really, really intense fragrance. And for what you get, and I don't see oud listed in the notes, but there's lots of oudy touches here. So in the end, this is pleasant. It's a great inexpensive gourmand oud with rose kind of a thing. So there's vanilla here, woody notes, incense, rose, patchouli, caramel, spices, raspberry, musk. It's a very unique concoction, but then not really unique. I've smelled it before, but for the price, I feel like it's great for what you get. 25 bucks for 100 ml is wonderful, and the longevity is really, really great. When I wore it, I recommend it. It does remind me, as I said, of other fragrances, but then it's got its own unique twist because they're throwing in a few things that you don't really have with the other fragrances. I feel like if you like fragrances like black oud in that genre, but more of a gourmand take of that particular genre, then that's what this is. So this is Franck Olivier Oud Vanille. Last but not least, as I said, it is from the house of Franck Olivier again, and this is Sunrise Vetiver. This one was recommended to me, and I was going to take a chance. It's really, really cheap, $17 for a 75 ml. And that's the bottle right there. So how is this one? You know what, I'm not wearing anything. I'm going to wear this one right here. I'm not going to use the strip. So with this one, Franck Olivier Sunrise Vetiver. So it's Vetiver. Ooh, I like that. Vetiver, lemons, bergamot, iris, lemongrass, orange blossom, nutmeg, and rosemary. Ooh, I like this. It's very, very citrusy vetiver. If you like your vetiver, but you don't like it too dark and earthy and, you know, rooty, and even though I feel like the rooty earthiness is there, it's brightened up with lots of citruses, lemons and bergamot and lemongrass. So there's like a very citric quality to the fragrance. It's vetiver. I mean, I feel like you can wear this one in the summertime. It's fresh, but because it's vetiver and it's woody earthy, I feel like it'll do great in the heat and have great longevity. I haven't really worn it, but that's Franck Olivier Sunrise Vetiver. I like this one. This might be my favorite one, actually, next to the HARAMAIN. Okay, so I'm ranking them for you now. This is my number one. I put the HARAMAIN away. Neroli Canvas is number two. What's number three? What's number three? Feels Like Summer is number three. Oud Vanille is number four. Wakening Woods of Scandinavia is number five. I feel like this Jill Sander has opened up. Sun Men is number six. The KORLOFF and the Oscar de la Renta are tied. I don't find them, well, they are different. They're completely different fragrances, but I don't like one over the other, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's a tie, even though 7 and 8. I'll go with the KORLOFF as number 7 and the Oscar de la Renta as number 8. So that's my ranking of these fragrances. Let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances. Have you tried them? Have you worn them? Do you like them? Do you hate them? And for the future, what do you recommend as far as less expensive or cheap fragrances go, so I can check out again in the future? Again, this is something that you guys had recommended, and I wanted to pick these up because, you know, not everybody can afford expensive fragrances, especially nowadays with what's going on in the world. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to test these out, and I'm going to recommend everyone what I think about these less expensive fragrances. These are really, really cheap or inexpensive. And I feel like you can totally wear this and just be happy with it if you like vetiver. And then the HARAMAIN Neroli Canvas, it's a great alternative to Neroli Portofino. And again, Neroli Portofino is not an original fragrance. I'm sure they copied 4711, but then again, you know, people are copying Neroli Portofino because it's very popular. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching this video today. It was longer than normal. This is my cheap fragrance haul. Let me know if you have any suggestions for cheap fragrances that are great quality. Put some comments down so I can find out. Other than that, thanks so much for watching today. Please do like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.